attitude of allowing to continue?
Well, one of the things, Dr. Haney, that has helped in the last 2 or 3 years has been the reality from major marketers that anymore you have to talk to segments. Mm-hmm. And the African American segment is a $400 billion segment nationwide. And so that, money talks.
I'm often intrigued, Mr. Latham, because each time you come, not only do you come as a newspaper publisher, but you also come bringing us some very, very important statistical information dealing with advertisement and the black market, the black market in the sense of the African American market and etc. Right. Why don't you reveal some of that information to us?
I'd be happy to. Dr. Haney, in order for us to survive and in order for me to gain market share, I have to become somewhat of an expert on black consumer spending. So every year I sort of update my statistics and so that I can in turn educate the marketers as to the value of the segment I represent and that I target. So you know that recently the Nashville banner went out of business, and in a real sense I think it was because they had no real distinction from the morning paper, and so it was more or less a duplication, or at least 75 to 80% of the information was a duplication. So, the medias have to serve a specific role in the whole media mix when you look at the entire landscape of the media market, and especially print. So what we do, and what we say we do, is represent locally this $1.6 billion segment that is called the African Americans.
How many?
$1.6 billion of spending power. That's our target.
That's a local target.
That's the value of black spending in Nashville alone. If you look statewide, it would be just under $7 billion. So if you look at Nashville and Memphis, these are the two most valuable segments because of the population. Here we're talking about 119,000 black people. In Memphis you're talking about 360,000 black people. So of Tennessee's 788,000 blacks, you can see that over half of them are located in the two metropolitan cities that we have. Then if you add Chattanooga and Knoxville, you would gain probably about 70% of the market.
And they represent a substantial buying power.
Oh, tremendously, tremendously. If it was an entity within itself, either one, Nashville or Memphis, then we're talking about the 5th largest economy in the state of Tennessee. And so if you looked at compared the African American segment in Nashville, you would say it's over twice the size of Murfreesboro, period. And Murfreesboro is pretty progressive. So if you looked at Clarksville, it would be again probably about 1.5 times that total economy I'm talking about.
Well, now, and of course we're coming up, Mr. Latham, to our first commercial break, after which we'll come back and we'll deal again with this. But let me raise this question. How is it that people could overlook and not recognize the importance of this $1.6 billion market, not for the entire nation, but only for the state of Tennessee? I mean, how do you overlook such a market like that?
Well, I think it's a combination of ignorance and racism. It's both factors involved. They're both and how do you overcome that? Education. And that's our role.
Very good. Okay, good. And so, of course, we're going to have our first commercial break. But we do want to talk about that, because I think that in order to deal with that, you say that we have to deal with ignorance and education. And let's talk about some of the quote ignorant points in reference to that.
Sure. And when I say ignorance, I mean lack of knowledge.
I understand lack of knowledge. So what folks are doing and saying. And we'll be back with you following this commercial break.